She's a doctor.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dovec, and she's a dietitian.
Hey, I'm Hannah Schuyler, and together we are the
Doctor
Doctor-Dietitian Collab.
We are officially entering the last quarter of 2024. We have 3 months left. And today's podcast, Hannah, is about finishing stronger than you started. The time is now to work on those New Year's resolutions that you made when the ball dropped in 2024 on January 1st.
I cannot believe it.
I can't either. I can't believe this.
Well, it's funny to also thinking back to New Year's 2020, like going into 2024, we stayed home because I was just like super pregnant. And then I had a kid 2 weeks later.
That is one hell of a start of a new year, if I had to say so. Did you make a New Year's resolution, or were you just trying to literally survive?
Literally just like having a baby seems like a big enough resolution to me.
I think so too.
Yeah. Because I think I've mentioned this before. She came early, so we weren't even really ready for her. She was supposed to come in February and she came in January. So yeah, there was just too much going on at the time to do a resolution.
Yes, you resolved to become a mother, and
Exactly.
you accomplished it. So, my goodness, the podcast might not be for you then today.
I was successful in becoming a mother, but I think that, with that and with everything that has changed in the last 9 months, she's kind of been out as long as she was in. And so I'm like, It seems like a good time now to all right, maybe let's refocus and get back into a little bit more about me and a little bit, just kind of back onto some of my even normal habits and things like that have fallen by the wayside a little bit. What was your resolution last year?
My resolution, I always have one. I love New Year's. So I love the fact that we are talking about New Year's even now.
Yeah.
In October, essentially, with 3 months left of the year. And then we're going to talk about it again when we, go for the whole thing. And I think I love New Year's because I feel like it just gives you hope. And I always want to reflect on where I am in life and what is my vision board. I think that kind of exercise is very, very important to see where you're at. What are your goals? Where have you been in the last year to reflect? And what do you want to do going forward? So last year, I actually said that I wanted to post in our private Facebook support group more, that I wanted to get back to when I made that over 10 years ago. It was like July of 2013 when the private Facebook group started. At that time, in those first few years, I felt like it was almost like a Dear Diary. Like everything I was thinking and experiencing and feeling in a patient tip and a funny joke, like some of it you look and you cringe because it's like Facebook memories. Look what you posted.
Oh, yeah.
I posted a lot. But I also think that people got to know me and I got to know them more because I was posting, and I wanted to get back to stop using social media as this completely perfect, polished thing and make it more of your real-time thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. Not necessarily so intentional with it.
Yeah. And as of late, I feel like I've been doing decent. Like I put a few long rambles on there about my unicorn memories. I felt like that was very profound, and just again what patients tell me, and I'm like, man, I feel like that with myself. I'm always like, oh, it was so much better then because of this reason. And I'm like, that's not even necessarily true. Your memories are always a little bit different of what it was, and they're always probably going to be a little bit different to what it's going to be. So
absolutely. It's that rose-colored glasses,
very much so. Very much so. And this year, I just want to get through those first few months of 2025. The surgery center will be opening. Our new office location will be opening. We will have so much going on. So I really just want to make sure that I am intentional at this point in finishing the year really strong and setting myself up for success. And I know it sounds like you're right there with me. You're ready to do it.
Yeah, I think that it's, and I know when we talked about this before, I almost talked about how I sometimes feel like January is just not a great time to be setting resolutions because just from a physical perspective, you're coming out of this high period of the holidays, but then also it's January. January is just I'm so sorry. It's kind of like a terrible month in general. Um, Especially when I lived up north. Like I
Oh,
no, January nothing was happening because it was cold and miserable and sad and I just didn't want to do anything. So I kind of like the idea of like doing resolutions more in the springtime. It's like things are
mhm.
coming into life and you know, reblooming, so to say, so to speak. But I think right now too, it is kind of that like, all right, the end is in sight of this year. What do we want to leave
Mhm.
2024 with? And what do we want to accomplish and be ready so that as we do head into 2025, which is again insane that that's the year, um, my mind is boggled. Um, you
Same.
know, what are we doing so that we're kind of in the best position possible going into that new year?
Absolutely. And I think there are some patients who in 2024 they had bariatric surgery. They are still, losing, and it's going to be maybe the first year where weight loss isn't one of the resolutions. I
Mhm.
always loved hearing that because that is really profound. If you spent the majority of your adult life chasing this goal and you're actually like, I checked the biggest, most elusive box off of the list and I did it this year. So, how do you stay on that track and how do you keep it exciting or how do you embark on this journey? I love this, and I didn't even know this existed, but there's an official name. It is the second Friday in January, and it's called Quitter's Day because the majority of New Year's resolutions are already abandoned within 2 weeks of starting the new year.
It's so crazy. I think that part of that, well, one, again, I just don't know that January is the right time to do it, but I think sometimes people just really set themselves up for failure with resolutions, with setting either too lofty a goal or not specific enough of a goal, or they don't put it, they set a goal with no plan. That's probably the biggest one is they're just like, oh yeah, again, like to use weight loss as the example. It's like, oh, I want to lose weight. Cool.
Yep.
What does that mean?
Exactly. It's not a SMART goal, my friends. We have
No.
podcasts and blogs on SMART goals, very specific. What specifically does that mean? And I think when you have the objective marker of the scale and the number and the pounds lost, why those pounds and like what
Hmm.
standard are you using? And we all can agree that the BMI standards are insane, totally insane.
Hmm.
None of us follow them, none of us respect them, but yet that is the marker for insurance coverage and all that. I mean, it's
We
it's
have
hard
to
to
use them because yeah, we're trapped in the system that uses them.
yeah, we are
Oh.
trapped. Well, so this whole podcast today, we are going to really focus on the truth. The truth is, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And we're going to give you all a plan today to really just understand why it's so important to finish strong and why this last quarter is your opportunity to shine and how you're going to start your New Year's fresh and just what are the benefits of doing all of that. So I think we should dive into it. And I'm going to literally talk about diving in a swimming analogy. My daughter, Adrian, is on a swim team and she's getting really good. Like this weekend, we went and I mean, she's at this point, I would say she's the third to fourth fastest 8 and under female in the Central Florida, if not one of
Wow.
the fastest 8 and under females in the state of Florida. These girls are fast. I mean, I was a competitive swimmer, and I don't even know if I would make some of like the 9-10 cuts. I'm like,
Yeah.
my gosh, these kids are, it is remarkable. I am literally obsessed, but I'm always telling her like she's doing really well, but I'm like, you've got to finish with with intention. Like this is the
Hmm.
word. Like she gets there and her strokes are looking stronger. She's getting faster. She's doing great streamlines. She's killing it. But it's like whoever touches the wall first is it doesn't matter if it's a hundredth of a second. If you're ahead, that's key. So you gotta finish it. Get the wall, tap the wall, finish the race, like finish it strong. Don't like glide into the wall. That's the worst. So it's so
Hmm.
important. I know it's corny, but I mean, I spent the
No,
last
it's true though. It's like
on her
you
feet.
really you have to take that last like push of effort that you've got because you might feel like your tank is empty and you're like I've been doing this like I can't, and it's like no, you gotta like dig deep and just get that extra kick in there and metaphorically and
Yes,
like you
kicks and
said, touch
dive
that
in and
wall.
let's, I
Yeah.
mean, drive to the wall. Let's like run through a wall. That's the type of energy you should be coming and
Mhm.
approaching that wall with. And I read Katie Ledecky's book, and I think that that is a must read if you're into swimming or not. I don't think it
Mhm.
matters. I think she just is such just a brilliant case study of the most remarkably resilient human. I mean, I don't know. I just think that her accomplishments are so mind-boggling because her
Mhm.
mental game is so strong, and just her commitment and her consistency and her
Mm.
endurance literally is, it's swimming laps, but it's just so much more than that.
Oh
And what
yeah.
she's learned. So I would strongly recommend everybody read Katie Ledecky's book. It's just such a huge role model in the swimming community, but also just in general. I think she's just
Yeah.
so amazing. Just completely admire her. Again, the discipline that she's taken. And I would, let me ask you this, like in your life, what would you say is the thing that you have most consistently done? Or what was your most consistently like disciplined in what aspect of your life?
Oh, I'm so all over the place. I go through periods. I would say that not necessarily being on like a diet most of my life, but being really consistent with trying to have just like a balanced diet, I would say. Like I will always focus on trying to like have vegetables in my meals and having protein in my meals. And it's not that I'm constantly like dieting per se, but I just really focus on trying to like meet that, you know, kind of thing. So I would say that because exercise, we've talked about before, I'm not consistent with it. I go through periods with it where like I was doing boxing for a while when I was in Chicago.
Wow.
And I loved that. And that I was really, I was on top of it. Um,
Hmm.
and because I really liked it, it also the gym was pretty expensive. So I was like, I gotta go a couple times a week to make this worth it.
Yes.
And there were a couple of things that set me up for success, which is really important. So I was able to leave. I usually left my job at about 4:30 when I worked up there. I'd go in earlier and leave earlier. And so I could make like the 5:15 class or whatever. So I knew that I could set myself up to be really successful with that because I could drive from work to my gym, change there and be ready for class at, 5:15 or whatever it was. So in I went through probably 2 year and a half, maybe 2 years where I was really consistently doing that. Um, but yeah, so those are some of my like behavior that I stick with.
No, I can see that. I love your cooking. I love your effortless ability to keep it balanced too. Again, I'm just really I
You
think
don't
that
see it
that's a
all,
gifted
Bets.
skill. I think that I mean, my gosh, like I do think like, my God, you do a lot. And I love the fact that you said that, like, okay, I am now rounding the bend. I'm coming up for air somewhat,
Hmm.
and I'm acknowledging that. I mean, it's something that is indescribable when your life changes and you are responsible for another life in addition to your own,
Hmm.
and what that looks like, and just
Yeah.
the level of time and commitment. And I'm glad that you're like, all right, now it's time for me. And when you're talking about smart goals, like, very specifically putting them out there, and
Hmm.
how you're going to be able to kind of do that.
Yeah.
I think that's exciting. And
Yeah.
especially if you share that with us and our community and our
Yeah.
team. It's cool.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think that it is. And again, kind of going back to like the consistency of things, like I do think that a lot of stuff like that does come in waves for a lot of people that means, you can get back to it.
Mhm.
It means that, okay, maybe for right now, it hasn't been what I want it to be, but I've done it before. And so I can do it again. So I think that that's something else that I think of. It's like, oh yeah, I used to be able to do that. I used to do X, Y, and Z, and I liked it.
Yeah.
What's your most consistent habit?
Mine is work, and the way I work and the
Yeah.
way I think about it. And you're right, it becomes a habit, and it just becomes something that there's never a day where I don't do at least something that's going to either project our team, hopefully forward, help with the patient experience, something. I think about it too much, not to compare myself to Taylor Swift, but I read this thing by her that I felt like, man, that resonates with me, where she says like the Eras tour has kind of like overtaken her every thought. Like it becomes all consuming when you're constantly thinking about, all right, well, let me think about like an Instagram post. Do I want to do a patient before and after? Do I want to do it educational? Do I want to give value? Do I want to do something funny? Do I want to do something like beautiful that shows the building, whatever? Like, okay, so there's
Mm-hmm.
that. And then there's, I'm always like, Hannah, let's write a blog, let's record a podcast, let's do a whole new thing, let's do Project Reset, let's start a whole new program, and let's do like the
Yeah.
content for it. And I know we're always talking about that, but consistently I can say that I'm like consistently unsettled almost, but it's not even that I'm like not happy. It's just like I just know
No,
that I'm not done. And it's just like you feel like, okay, I can see this thing like taking shape, and
there's always like kind of the next thing that you're going for.
always the next thing, and always making sure though that like I if something needs to be finished, like I finish it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's been my most favorite thing, by not kind of being your own boss, if you will. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to do meetings or certain like things just to present to people. Like I did so many PowerPoints and just so many meetings and so much like socializing of ideas, and like all the companies speak, that you don't get a lot done. It really hinders creativity and forward
Mm-hmm.
progress, innovation, and all of those things that really change the world. So I I mean, I think that I've just been able to consistently like do the things that I love a lot more, now
Yeah.
that we started Body by Bariatrics.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
I love it. And then it can help our beautiful minds in the chaos that is probably both of our ADHD
Yeah.
undiagnosed.
Just,
So
just brewing under there.
there's something brewing in here. I don't know, because every time I see that thing about how many tabs you have open, I'm completely targeted by that. I have the most
How many is it
always.
right now?
I know, I'm sharing my screen right now, and it's, oh, that's not that bad.
Well,
It's
it's
about
actually,
six on
oh
this
my
one.
God. Yeah,
That one's not
6.
that bad. That one's not that bad. No, I must have restarted
That's
my
the
computer.
least I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like six. Normally it's
So
like
you can't read them.
you can't read them at all. No. I never even
One
really thought
letter.
about reading a tab. It just goes on and on. It's just like they're like micro things, and then the computer starts to have like smoke coming off of it. So it's like, oh, time to restart that.
Close
So
everything.
close it all down. And we're closing the year out here. And we got to make sure that we are hitting our objectives, and it's really powerful. So, would you say that you are competitive?
Not particularly. I can be, but not exceptionally, I wouldn't say.
I feel like I'm extremely
Yes,
competitive.
you are.
Yeah, I'm as like type A competitive as they get. But
Yeah.
that
I'm like
is,
one of the few type B dietitians.
you are a type B dietitian, but together, like we help to level each other out. We're like
We
a
do.
perfect solid like A minus, I feel like.
Hmm.
We're both A's though. We're both A's. And
Yeah.
it's great. But that's a thing. When you're more competitive, you are more likely, research shows, to finish strong and to
Yeah.
complete and finish, period. It's
Hmm.
because you made a promise to yourself. And we talked a lot about that. And Laura with Project Reset, I've been listening to all of her sessions, and during, as part of that package. And she talks a lot about making the plan, and you're making a deal with yourself. So sometimes it's
Hmm.
like, oh, well, that can go by the wayside because, that person or that thing, is that commitment that I've made is more important than this. But you got to put it on your schedule just like anything else, and you've got to keep it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that for me, that's definitely super helpful when I do like try to set something. It's like it has to be written down. It has to be on a schedule, or it has to be on a checklist. It has to be something that's like somewhat tangible to be able
Mhm.
to get, because if it's just floating out there in the ether, like it's it's too vague, and either I forget it or it just doesn't feel as important. But if it's staring me down, I have to do it. Or like
Mhm.
again, for me going to the gym, like that was because it was so like class based, I had to go at certain times, and there was they weren't waiting for me to start. So it was like, you have to be there to be able to do it. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym and,
Yeah.
like get on the treadmill or do whatever, which you could go literally anytime. So that kind of thing for me really helps.
Okay, so you've talked about these examples a lot. Would you now, you said, okay, you did it before, you really enjoyed it. Boxing, I've never actually heard you speak specifically
Really?
about boxing before. No, you
Yeah.
talk about running and your hate for it. I'm like, don't even try to set yourself up for running. That's just like
No.
a side note.
You know what's crazy? I thought about it again the other day. I should try running.
Boxing?
No, running. Boxing, the problem is there's not a gym close to me. I like would. I need to look
Okay.
again, but the last time I checked, there's not like a boxing gym.
Or even like get a pimp stroller and like walk quickly and push Elena. That's a
Oh
workout.
yeah. Oh yeah. We do that. I'm excited for the weather to start to cool down here.
Yeah, it is so hot. We went out yesterday and it's crazy too. Whenever you talk about January and being in the north and it just being so gloomy and all that kind of stuff, I still have that in my head. So we're talking about when we are going to plan the grand opening, ribbon cutting of this
Mm.
new place. And I was like, ideally, I'd like to do it in January. However, I'm like, oh, but the weather is so cold. And then someone said to me, like, it doesn't get cold in Florida, but it
Yeah.
does, doesn't it?
It does. What, it'd be like maybe in the 50s at the coolest, 40s at night, I guess. We'd have to look
Okay.
it up.
I guess it's not that
Like
bad. But anyway, I gotta plan that. So I need a plan for the new year, but we're talking about right now here
talking about
and
right
now.
now.
We're
See,
talking
this
about
is
these.
the other problem I think that can be really difficult. We're always thinking about the next thing,
You know,
And
but
this
we
is
are
the
going to
finishing strong.
we're finishing strong. So
Mhm.
let's specifically talk about people who have made maybe their goal to get healthy this year. And this is actually in our world the perfect time to start. So number one reason at the end of the calendar year typically is a time when you've kind of maximized out your benefits for other things and if you have bariatric coverage and you've already met your maximum out of pocket expense, you've hit your deductibles, you've, paid all your co-insurances or whatever your plan describes, that means that 100% all in would be covered by your insurance if you decide to go for it now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is the best time for a lot of people to be doing this because yeah, you've already spent your healthcare money on whatever else this year. So take advantage of it and have the insurance company pay for the whole thing.
Exactly.
Like,
And if you
yeah.
wait until January and it starts over again,
Hmm.
of course, sometimes people had maybe expected or unexpected bills. You had surgery this year, and then you'd have to have that start over, which,
Hmm.
it's not a terrible thing, but it's still a major consideration. Money, finances,
Thousands of
woo,
dollars. Yeah.
I know. You should go for it if you've already spent some money on your health insurance. And
Mhm.
some of our patients, don't know they have coverage. They are just confused by all of the verbiage. I know we recorded a podcast
Mhm.
trying to break down the insurance side of things and, what is your out of pocket financial responsibility in this. But we have a free benefit verification team that we have that would be more than happy to check your benefits for you and let you know what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Super easy.
Yep, you just go to this, you fill out a brief form, you upload your insurance information, and then our team will verify your benefits. And then we'll even send you a letter that really breaks down any of again, your out of pocket responsibility. So we can tell you that, yeah, in fact, you have, as of this moment, because we do it in real time for when you submit it.
Mhm.
So as soon as we get it, we'll tell you what you are to date. And we put a date on there and say, this is your estimate at this point. If you end up going to the ER tomorrow and you wipe it out, you could wipe that out too. So
Yeah.
maximize that insurance company and the benefits that they have for sure before the end of the calendar year.
Absolutely.
And then we talked a little bit about starting 2025 healthier and how I know you don't love the thing, but it's this change of a calendar year. And
Mhm.
I do feel like, boy, that you have momentum going into it. You're not
Yeah.
starting from this like bottom of the mountain. You're climbing up there.
Well, and I think it almost it can open up your mind a little bit to like other goals that you might have. Like you said, a lot of people have every single year since they were, 22 or whatever, have been putting I want to lose weight as my, you know, New Year's resolution. And if you could take that off of that list, like what would the next thing be? And so
Mhm.
it kind of just gives you that opportunity to you just broaden your horizons in that sense. So, and again, starting healthier and going into the holidays with a new potentially with a new mindset and not this like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and gain 10 pounds over the holidays because it's what I do every year. But like, imagine if you didn't have to think about that and you could just go into those feeling better, like coming out of them feeling better versus starting 2025 like, ugh, this is the worst I've ever felt.
Yeah. Yeah, that would, and then with the holidays and that sort of thing, I think this is the time we are now entering again the last quarter. We start with Halloween, Thanksgiving, gatherings, parties, Christmas time, all the things in between. Do you feel like personally this time of year is different for you? Do you feel like, oh gosh, I always kind of gain a few over the holidays, or it's hard to kind of keep that balance that you described earlier?
Sometimes. Um, there's a lot of things that I don't feel like I'm it's like, I guess, quote, tempted by. And then we also keep a lot of our celebrations are really small. It's like just my immediate family.
Yeah.
So it's not always, I think for a lot of people, it's these very big gatherings or these very prolonged, there's weeks of things after another. And we don't really do a lot of that. So,
Mhm.
and like things like Halloween, sure, I'll have a couple pieces of candy, but I have no like there's candy available year round. It's not like special to me anymore kind of
Yeah.
thing. So,
I know. As an adult, my kids, I mean, they just they can't even wait and function. They have,
yeah.
just oh gosh. And that's
Yeah.
hard too because we talked on our last one about the emotional eating cycle and understanding your triggers.
Mhm.
Halloween equals candy.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, Christmas equals cookies and food and
Food. Yeah.
desserts and family and sitting around, and it's cozy, and it's just food is community, and it's all of those
Yeah.
things. So I think this time of year makes people nervous.
Oh,
It
for
makes
sure.
nobody wants to go off the rails, but it feels so good, and this is what we are all conditioned to do and feel, and
Yeah.
YOLO, all the things. So
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
good
and
time.
And if you look, I mean, some of this is like just traditional and some of it is like because of farming. I mean, why do we eat certain things during the holidays? Because they are preserved or they're canned. Like there's not as much fresh produce available, or the stuff that is, you cook it in a lot of fat and salt and all of this stuff. Like, I don't know, it's not spring and summer veggies and it's not this bright, crisp, beautiful thing. And then there's also like, you don't really, I don't know. I'm always not big into eating salads when it's cold out. Like,
Yeah,
there's
that
just
doesn't
there's a
sound
lot that kind of goes into it.
there's so much stuff. And so that's why I would say, what can you do? You can always look into Project Reset because it's really reframed
Yes.
already, like my thinking and recognizing the patterns and
Mm.
the triggers and the behaviors and the thoughts that come with it and the actions, and how you can have some real tips to recognize it, catch it, check it, and move away from it. So
Mm.
how you can do all of that. Now, another big thing is a lot of patients love to have their procedures over time off potentially with the holidays. Things
Mhm.
tend to slow down with businesses, schools are off. We get a
Mhm.
lot of teachers, even a lot of parents. Or just any type of workforce or students
Yeah,
that
I
are
mean, a lot of people are closed
like,
that week between Christmas and New Year's, like your office is closed. It's like, well, what a great time to get surgery then.
exactly. And it's a perfect time for that. And we have extra time on the schedule. Good old Dr. Lane, Diana Lane, knows that she's not allowed to move or leave over that pretty much the entire month of December. I'm like, you're mine. You
Yeah.
can't
We're the
go because
opposite of everywhere else where it
we
like
are.
that week between Christmas and New Year's where everyone else is like, "Oh yeah, my office is closed," or like, "We'll go in for a little." No, y'all are like in the OR.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
So true. Now, another thing is that when you do this and you decide, okay, I've been talking about my weight, Surgery is the most effective tool that exists to lose weight and to keep it off. I've been thinking about it for a long time. Maybe, your rationale, your reason why is, of course, very different. Maybe you do have some health issues and you're just, tired of the medications and the visits and all of that goes into that. But it's also really showing that, all right, I am putting myself first. People are watching, your friends and your family, your loved ones, and it's setting an example. You're inspiring other people that you directly know, but you're also inspiring strangers through your bravery and deciding to take control of your life. It's just not easy. We say this over and over again. And I think that it's really astounding to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it is kind of crazy when you don't really necessarily think of, oh, if I do this, like I think we see it as very much like, oh, I'm going to help take care of my own health. I'm going to take care of this. But there are those like ripple and downstream effects of it, and whether or not you inspire someone else to get surgery or to make a change to how they're eating, or you go on the walk after the meal instead of sitting on the couch. And so somebody comes with you or whatever it might be, like there's all these little ripple effects that can really make a big impact.
Mm-hmm. And that makes you feel good. The emotional, psychological boost that you get when you made a plan, you made that SMART goal, and you achieved it. I feel like, ah, it's that needling in the back of your head. I always think of that whenever I have a project I just don't want to touch. I'm like paralyzed with it for some whatever reason. And I try to
Ah,
lean into that. And a tip for whether it's a work project or something like that, for me, is you gotta know like the times of the day that you are more likely to do it. You're like less resistant. And for me, that's very early in the morning. So
mm-hmm.
today I wrote all those billing FAQs for our website. Like that is something
Yeah.
I'm going to start this week as fresh as can be. And I'm going to get up at 5:15 in the morning to write billing FAQs. Like that is what I had that on my list all week and it was bothering me. So I would
Oh,
not allow
yeah.
myself to start another week without
To
doing
start
that.
anything without doing it. If I
Yep.
wrote those at 5:15 in the morning, they wouldn't make any sense.
See, that's the difference. See,
It would be
that's when
just
I'm
gibberish.
fresh. Like at night, I can't do it. And of
Yeah.
course, we talk about Joni a lot in our office. She comes alive. The later it gets, the darker
Oh,
it gets.
yeah. Sometimes I'll get
But
texts from Joni at 10:30 that it's like PM that are like, okay, what's the procedure on this? And I'm like on the couch watching TV or whatever.
yeah, it's like,
Like,
what?
oh no,
Like
okay.
half out of it. But see, for me in the morning when I'm fresh, I have to tackle like the
Mhm.
hardest thing. So that email I
Yeah.
haven't wanted to write, I'll write it then and I'll send it. And then that person, they're waking up and their Monday is like, oh, ding. First
Hmm.
inbox message is Betsy Dovec wanting something from you. And like you can't
I know
escape.
your normal weekend update email came a little bit late today.
That means
And
I was
so I
late for
checked
work
my
again.
email first thing and I was like, oh, she didn't do a weekend update. And then it came a few minutes later.
Yep, it sure did. That means that I'm very late for work. That is a direct relationship to when I'm leaving for work. So if I'm supposed to be here at 7 and I'm leaving at 7:20. See, I should make that a SMART goal, but I just don't want to. Is that
Yeah.
nuts? That's
No,
so rude.
it's that's what it is. I think, in all of this, part of making SMART goals is they have to be attainable and like
That's
have to
true. They have to
seem,
be achievable. That's the edge.
achievable, realistic. If it's not realistic right now, maybe in the future. But I think something else when we kind of look at finishing strong, it's like, what are you going to finish strong on? Because also, if you have a million different things going on, it's not realistic that you can be perfect at all of them. And that might be part of what is kind of holding you back on some of these decisions is that I've got too many things I'm trying to say yes to. I've got too many things that I'm trying to complete. Is there anything that you can maybe push a little bit down the line and say, you know what, right now I'm going to focus on this thing. I'm going to get my surgery. And I've been trying to do maybe you're in the process and you're like, I've been trying to do all my appointments, but I'm also trying to do this and I'm also doing this and I'm also taking on this task. And it's like, is there something else that you can temporarily let go of to focus on one thing and really, really finish strong at it? Because I do think a lot of times the problem is either that we're not doing enough or we're doing too much. And you got to find that like Goldilocks amount.
Oh, that's so good. You got to focus on something, and then you've got to, we talk about celebrating the wins. So
Hmm.
we keep talking about SMART goals. I just want to briefly say what they are. So SMART, SMART, S is for specific. So it can't just be this vague, get healthy. Way too
Hmm.
vague, way too generalized. You got to be specific on exactly what healthy looks like to you. And then how do you measure that success that you've accomplished that? Achievable, okay, relevant, and time bound. So my dorky little ones are basically, there is this inspection for the surgery center, and I have specifically, I want to get, it's called triple AHC, is to get deemed status. It's essentially to be able to get your Medicare CMS number, and that's how
Hmm.
you can get contracted with the different commercial insurance companies. Anyway, this thing's kind of a beast. There's hundreds of policies and procedures. There's all these different things you have to have in place for when they do their unannounced site visits. It's just like a lot of stress and a lot of things. My goal for January is to specifically accomplish that. What would make it measurable? I achieved it. It's very relevant. I can't really take much insurance cases at the surgery center, so it's really important. And I need to do ASAP within January, and that can be
Yeah.
done. So that is mine. A lot of mine right now are professional,
Work
but
focused. Yeah.
I do think though, when you're looking at this, you got to look at this as an overall personal development journey, whether that
Hmm.
be personal, health, professional, your work, your career, family. And I think you have to look at things, I do at least, in buckets. And if I accomplish one thing in one bucket, I'll focus on another bucket at another time. And I
Hmm.
think I don't really have guilt in that because I know that I will. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm burned out. I'm going for a walk. I am going to go to Typhoon Lagoon with my kids. I'm going to take Evan specifically to a concert. Like I can say, like, all right, and that's what I'm going to focus on during that period.
Yeah.
And that was a big accomplishment. That was like a SMART goal, going to a concert. And yes, it was fun, but you gotta like put that in there as a win as well. I think
It's
the
yeah,
win's the
it's
win.
still a priority, and it's still it makes it again so that when you do have all this stuff going on, that you can actually get things done, because otherwise it can be just too vague,
Hmm.
and that doesn't work. I don't know. I
Yeah,
think that I think that's the other thing, is maybe sometimes too we think that these SMART goals have to be so like profound or like completely life changing. And no, it can be something as simple as like, I want to go with my son by ourselves to a concert in the month of September.
yeah,
And so then it's finding what that's going to be, who that is, and buying the tickets. Like that can be the goal too. It doesn't have to be that I'm going to overhaul my entire life, or I'm going to build a surgery center, or I'm going to, whatever it might be. Those are
right.
important too, but like it can be these smaller ones that are fun and enjoyable, but sometimes we just need that structure to actually get things done, because you can be so paralyzed by doing so many things.
Yeah, and I think that's how, again, consistent. Some days I might accomplish more than others, but it's just a little bit of forward progress every day adds up. Again, cliched,
Yeah.
but it's true. And I've talked about her, I think, a lot on here. And you also, I've definitely talked to her about a lot about this woman to you. So I had this friend who's become a great friend, a mentor. She was introduced to me when I was thinking about embarking on this journey of just starting a business and really shifting really my professional skill set. Yes, I'm a
Mhm.
clinician and I know my craft in the operating room and I know all the office and I know even about like workflows in terms of the operational side of the clinic side, but I don't really know much about like accounts receivable and insurance and all those things that I've learned. So anyway, she met with me and she ultimately uh she told me like your goals every day are to just accomplish three things, and sometimes maybe you'll do four surgeries and you did one more than you did even though you didn't hit whatever it is for every single bucket every single day.
Mhm.
And I think about that a lot. Like today, give yourself some grace. You did like X surgeries, you wrote those emails, you did a podcast with Hannah. Like that's great. Like
Yeah.
so good. And you're just going to bed feeling accomplished and
Hmm.
reflecting that with a positive lens, not on what you didn't accomplish. There's always
Right.
going to more. My husband always reminds me that, like, your desk is never going to be cleaned. It's never
No.
going to be, oh, I'm all caught up. So now what? Like, you're
Yeah.
never going to feel that. But
No.
if you do check those boxes, oh, I love a checklist, and I always bug you with them too. I just think you feel great.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've shown you mine. I know obviously people can't see it, but it's like got the seven
Yours
days
is,
of the week, and then I get to write something on it, and there's a note section. I'm trying to really use it. Trying to
I'm so
I've
impressed
used
by
it for like
this.
6 weeks, which if anybody who is a planner attempter every year knows it's a pretty good amount of time. If you're one of those people that has to buy a new one and thinking that's going to be the one that changes your life.
I mean, you're
Um,
killing it. I'll tell you what,
but
like, in terms of, I put a lot on you, but I can see, like, again, honestly, because of directly because of you, just watching it just blossom, and it's amazing. It's so amazing. It's there, some of the things are ambitious,
mhm.
but you knock them out.
And they're
And
not going to all happen in one day, but they're going to happen.
they're happening. They're happening very quickly. You're getting efficient, like whipping these things together. It's just amazing to watch. So, all right, let's focus back on our Dr. X dietitian roots here, which is, of course, on the weight loss journey and all things bariatric surgery, and just staying motivated and focused on yourself as the priority. So, we have some very valuable resources. And like we said, we have, I think, poured an unbelievable amount of time, energy, and honestly, like love and attention to detail and thought into our programs and our offerings, because I feel like if we don't show immense value, then I don't know. I don't think that just doing the surgeries alone is what people are looking for. So,
Yeah.
talk a little bit about just the evolution of things like Project Reset, and why you feel like that is something that people should take advantage of with our limited time pricing now to help them to really end that year strong.
Yeah, well, if you haven't heard us talk about, or you didn't hear the episode about Project Reset, essentially what it boils down to is it is a very much a mindset focused um, virtual program that we are doing in conjunction with Laura Graybow, who's a bariatric therapist, and Gracie Iberly, who is our fitness specialist dietitian. So we have put this together, and you get 12 weeks of small group virtual sessions with Laura or with one of her colleagues. And that is like the meat of the program, I would say. And we kind of initially set this out to be for people who were further out past surgery. Maybe they've had some weight come back on, like they're just looking for that like quote reset, right? But I think what we've really realized is that this is for anybody who is in this journey, whether you're a bariatric patient, you're getting ready for surgery, you're somebody who's using medications for weight loss, or you're just, kind of giving it the old college try, or you're thinking about surgery, you're not quite sure yet. Like, I think that this can be for a lot of different people because the principles that she goes over really do apply, and they apply for all sorts of different aspects of your life. The other things that you get with it, so we have like the 4 M's. So it's mindset, and that's kind of Laura's piece. And then we have movement, and that's where Gracie comes into play. And so you're going to be getting these movement tips. You're going to get weekly, like kind of infographics and calendars and things just to help keep that part of it going. There's then the meals component, and that's my section. And so throughout the 12 weeks, you'll get 6 weeks of meal plans that are focused specifically for this kind of population. And then the other weeks, you're going to get different things. So there's like a food mood journal. You're going to receive some different kind of education type pieces and tangible, usable things that you can do, or just like some recipes and things like that. So very like usable things in that aspect. And then motivation is the 4th M, and that's where Dr. Dovec comes into play. And she's really just there to cheer you on, to make you feel, supported throughout this. Again, you'll be getting some kind of like some things just to motivate you in these weekly emails that you get from us. And then quarterly, she's also going to be doing a live session with the group, where you can ask her kind of the medical side of things. If surgery is something on the horizon for you or you're thinking about, she can answer those questions, or medications, or, it's just that's going to be the other thing that's available. So truly huge value for what you're getting. I mean, like, all of that together is an insane amount of things. We're having people that love it. I mean, the feedback so far has been, people are obsessed. I mean, like you said, you've joined some of the sessions. I've kind of been on the periphery of some of them, and there's people that are, sharing these, really deep and personal things, and just really opening up. And amazingly how quickly that happened too. I mean, within the first 1 or 2 sessions, I think I was on the first week, and it was
Yeah.
a smaller group and it was, I believe it was all women. And someone was sharing and like getting emotional, because like they just felt they hadn't been able to be heard in this whole time. And so it was the first time they felt like that. So just awesome. It's on our website, bodybybariatrics.com. Check it out under the Project Reset tab. Join, join now. It's awesome.
Oh, such a good summary. And I I hope and pray this doesn't sound like a salesman, but I
Yeah.
have been on every single session so far. And at first, the whole thing was we were each supposed to join a session just to help with like the logistics, to help her take
Mhm.
attendance and make sure that there was no technical issues with it. And Laura, I mean, she's done it a million times, and great. And then I look forward to, I tend to, so they're weekly and you can enroll anytime. It's a rolling admission. So if you
Mhm.
start on what we consider our week 4, you'll just end on week 3. It just keeps
Yeah.
on going. And so I've done a lot of these now, and I am just so impressed, and I'm so obsessed like with her perspective. And I it's the ultimate reset for anybody who just, and we all need it. And I mean,
Mhm.
I've used this many times like already. I think I can hear her in my head. I'm thinking about my next Monday at 7 p.m. session, like having to hold myself accountable to the group and talk it out, and what did you do this week? And I find myself during the week like thinking about how I would answer that, and and
Mhm.
go for the next weekly session. And I kind of sometimes I want to jump in there and take myself off of mute, but I try to refrain from that,
Mhm.
because I'm like, oh, this isn't about you. You're just here for tech support, Betsy. Why do you keep coming back? Laura
Yeah.
has it. But I'm
Yeah.
here every week, and I'm going to be attending again tonight. I just think it's really really good,
Yeah.
really really great. And I would say that she helps you to really, like we keep saying, like celebrating the small wins and milestones along the way, that
Mhm.
we all need a little bit of encouragement with the progress that we're making. And I think it just fuels you just to keep on going. Just keep
Yes.
going, keep showing up.
Man. All right. The end of this year, it's going to be something else. I think it's going
It
to be
is.
in the beginning of next year. I mean, we have so much going on, like you said, so much going on professionally.
Yeah.
Of course, my family has had, this whole year has just been huge for personal growth. I mean,
Yeah.
like literally growing our family. Um, and just, I think now there's some other things that, yeah, we can start to pull in for myself and all of
Mhm.
that. But we're so excited to just see what everyone else is doing at the end of this year.
I know. And I would love if you would write to us. You can
Yes.
text us 407-543-0971. We'll put it in the show notes. Text us put it out there. I think this is a huge
Hmm.
exercise in just accountability, that when you put it out into the universe and you just manifest that it's going to come true, and you can visualize it, the vision boards, the goals, all of the thoughts in your head, if you kind of organize them and put them out there, it becomes more real or more obtainable. I would love to hear from you and what yours are, and be thoughtful with that. Be detailed. Write it to us. We are listening. It's
Yeah.
like, dear Santa. Well, I will read those letters. We really
Yes.
will. I think that
Yes.
we should actually make that one of our things, that we just throw it out there, that we want everybody to this Christmas we want you to write us a letter, or just this
Yeah.
this last quarter, write us your
This
thoughts.
October, write your letter
Yes.
to Dr. Santa.
Yes.
Um, we'll have
Please.
to warn our team that these texts are coming in, because they're going to be like, what is happening?
what's happening? Wow, everyone is really goal oriented this year. These seem like
Yeah.
SMART goals to me. What is happening? Our
Hmm.
patients are just model patients. They're going to finish
Yeah,
2024 better than it started, for sure.
absolutely. I love it.
And yeah,
Well,
so
as always, you can
yes,
find us on Instagram at Dr. X Dietitian, Dr. Dovec at hannahschuyler.rd. Find us on our website, bodybybariatrics.com. Like you said, check out Project Reset. You can check out our medical weight loss program. You can check out our surgical program. If you're like, I want to take advantage of these last 3 months, go ahead, click that Get Started Now button, contact us, send us a text. We are here. We promise we read everything. Like, you send it to us. Maybe it takes us a minute sometimes in the DMs to get back to you, but we see it. We'll get back to you. And we're just so excited to see where the end of this year takes you.
completely. Let's finish the year strong and start it even stronger. Thank you for listening. I really enjoyed this. I'm excited. I have that renewed, I feel like it's a new year. I feel
We're
like renewed hope and energy and motivation to plow through and just
Mhm.
see what happens.
Yes, we're excited to read your text that you sent us that now we've assigned to you.
Yes, do your homework, my loves. It
Yes.
will work. It will work. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on our next episode of Dr. X Dietitian Podcast. Thank you guys. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.